This is going to sound weird, but bear with me. When I was in high school, there was a kid who told everyone he was a demon. I don't feel comfortable even writing his name, for reasons you'll soon understand. I'll just call him Patrick, even though his real name sounded like something out of a Shakespeare play. Patrick was extremely socially awkward and walked around with an empty stare that made even teachers uncomfortable. He wore the same blank grey hoodie every single day. No exaggeration. I'm pretty sure he never washed it, since he always smelled terrible. He was decently short and average looking, though you wouldn't know because he always had his hood up and never took off his sunglasses, even indoors. Teachers eventually stopped asking him to because he'd ignore them anyway. Now, the weird stuff. He didn't have any friends, but had this strange habit of adopting people. If he randomly decided he liked you, he'd walk up and say, "You're adopted," meaning you were part of his circle. Apparently, this made you safe from him, also he claimed. He didn't like many people, so few were ever adopted. I was one of them. Looking back, it was probably because he had a crush on me. None of us believed his demon act. We all just assumed he was a troubled kid, which he definitely was. This all happened in Wayne, Pennsylvania, where I grew up. Another girl, Gabby, had also been adopted by him, and his crush on her was more obvious. One day, my friends and I were hanging out on the dugouts behind our high school. Me, Gabby, Laura, and Luke. Somehow, the conversation turned to Patrick's crush on Gabby. We were laughing about it, and Gabby was clearly embarrassed. At some point, Laura used Patrick's real name 3 times. The moment she said it the 3rd time, Patrick appeared out of nowhere, jumping onto the dugout with a baseball bat in his hand. It wasn't scary in a traditional sense, but it was unsettling. We immediately stopped talking, nervous he'd overheard us. He didn't say anything, just stared. I gave him a small wave and he nodded before jumping down and walking away. Once he was gone, we burst out laughing, making fun of how weird it was. But deep down, I was disturbed. The next incident was worse. I was at Laura's house, hanging out in her room. Her parents were home, but at some point, we said Patrick's name 3 times between us. Not even 10 minutes later, we heard her front door slam. We went downstairs to check, and there he was, standing in the living room, talking to Laura's mum. When she asked why he was there, he said, "I was summoned." She made small talk before politely telling him to leave, which he did. Laura's mum knew Patrick and pitied him, so she wasn't alarmed. But Laura and I were horrified. We connected the dots both times he'd shown up after his name was said 3 times. We told our friends the next day, and we all swore never to say his name 3 times again. For a few months, things were fine. Then, one day, we were at our friend Johnny's house. Despite our warnings, Johnny refused to believe us and jokingly said Patrick's name 3 times in a row. At first, nothing happened. Johnny laughed, calling us stupid, but a few minutes later, Patrick jumped over Johnny's backyard fence. We all froze. He stared at us, then left just as quickly. Johnny freaked out, accusing us of setting him up. We reminded him we'd begged him not to do it. He was shaken and told us all to go home. The final incident was the worst. I was home alone one night and invited a guy over. When I mentioned Patrick, he laughed and screamed Patrick's name 3 times. Instantly, the rain outside picked up. A flash of lightning struck, and when I looked out the window, I saw a silhouette in my driveway. Patrick staring up at me. I slammed the blinds shut and rushed to lock all the doors. When I checked the front yard, he was standing there, motionless. Panicking, I started screaming, "I'm adopted!" over and over, hoping it would protect me. The guy I was with comforted me, and when I looked again, Patrick was gone. But the next morning, I found his hoodie in my backyard, wrapped around some of my missing belongings. Patrick never came to school again. No one knew what happened to him. Looking back, I think he was just a mentally ill stalker who followed me and other girls around. But the way he always appeared when his name was said 3 times, I still can't explain that.
Today I'm from Denver. This happened a few years ago. My friend Mike and I were heading to a dinner party one snowy Saturday evening and decided to stop at a liquor store first. The snow was coming down hard, but we didn't want to show up empty-handed. We grabbed some beer and whiskey, then got back in the car. Mike ran back inside for cigarettes, which annoyed me because I was driving in the snow. When he came back out, we continued our drive. The snow got worse, and my car kept slipping. Then we saw it, a stopped car in the middle of the road, hazards flashing, both doors open. I wanted to drive around it, but Mike insisted we stop. I'm not usually the type to help strangers, but Mike was adamant. We sat there for a minute, watching the car. Nothing happened. Mike got out to check. As he approached, I thought I saw something move near the car. Then the car itself seemed to shift, like something was in the trunk. I panicked and honked the horn. Mike sprinted back, and I drove off, telling him it felt like a trap. He was annoyed, but I wasn't risking it. We made it to the party and forgot about it until later that night. The host turned on the news, and we saw a report about a stolen car. A woman and her son had been carjacked after stopping to help a stranded vehicle, hazards on, doors open. 2 men had jumped out from behind a snowbank, and another had emerged from the trunk. They held her at gunpoint and stole her car. Mike and I stared at each other in horror. That could have been us. Now I'm even more distrusting of strangers. I wonder how many people I would have helped if I hadn't seen that trap firsthand. This happened over 30 years ago, when I was around 10. My extended family was huge. My dad was one of 9 kids, so we had massive gatherings at my grandparents' beach house. My favorite uncle was Joseph, a therapist. He was always kind and easy to talk to. That summer I started having horrific nightmares, graphic, disturbing dreams about family dying or being abandoned. I told Uncle Joseph, embarrassed to tell my parents. He listened, took notes, and said my subconscious was harboring resentment toward my parents. That didn't make sense. I loved them, but he was the expert. He told me to act out, say no, argue, to release my frustration. I did, and my parents were confused and upset. But the nightmares got worse. Uncle Joseph said my brain was too mature for my body and needed to be set free. I didn't understand, but I was desperate. One night I woke up before a nightmare could start, but I was too scared to move. Then I heard whispering right by my ear. Uncle Joseph's voice. I screamed and he bolted. I ran to my parents and told them everything. My dad confronted Joseph, who denied it, but a fight broke out. My dad grabbed Joseph's satchel and found notes, pages on inducing nightmares, experiments, and worse. Joseph fled. The police later found disturbing things on his computer. I never saw him again. Sometimes I blame myself for being so naive, but I was just a kid. Let me know if you'd like any further refinements.